Lord, that you would just touch his body and touch his life and heal him. Lord, we miss him here, and we just ask you to be with him. Meet us here this day to lead us to new heights in our planning. Help us to see clearly those things that need our attention. And dear Lord, give us courage to stand up for the truth at all costs and to understand what the consequences are when we are dealing with situations. May our passions be fueled by the desire to be the very best leaders we can be. Help us to always be courageous, even in times of great difficulty. Thank you, O Lord, for incredible men and women who serve in our military, who stand up every day for the United States of America. Protect them and encourage them as they serve you and this country. Help us to be appreciative people, caring deeply for those who sacrifice so much time to give us the freedoms we have. Bless those in this room who have loved ones serving our country. Give them great peace as they serve our state in a courageous way too. Thank you, Lord. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The House will now advance to the third order of business, approval of the journal. The House is at the third order.
March 20th, 2013. Mr. Speaker, will your Committee on Judiciary, Rules and Administration report that we have read and approved the House Journal of the 72nd Legislative Day and recommend same be adopted as corrected. Moved by Wills, seconded by Burgoyne.
You've all heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The motion carries and the report is adopted. The House will now advance to the fourth order of business, consideration of messages from the Governor and the Senate. The House is at the fourth order.
March 19th, 2013, from the Senate. Mr. Speaker, I transmit herewith enrolled Senate bills 1025, 1057 as amended, 1091 as amended, 1098, 1048 as amended, 1034, 1035, 1128, 1129, 1130, 1131, 1132, 1139, 1140, 1143, 1144. 1063, 1100, 1133 as amended, 1061, 1062 as amended, 1142, 1006 as amended, and Senate Bill 1064 for the signature of the Speaker. Novak, Secretary of the Senate.
Senate Bills 1025, 1057 as amended, 1091 as amended, 1098, 1048 as amended, 1034, 1035, 1028, 1128, 1129, 1130, 1131, 1132, 1139, 1140, 1143, 1144, 1063, 1100, 1033 as amended, 1061, 1062 as amended, 1142, 1006 as amended, and Senate Bill 1064 will all be signed by the Speaker and returned to the Senate.
From the Senate, March 19th, 2013, Mr. Speaker, I return herewith enrolled House bills 53, 159, 105, 252, 254, 262, 263, 43, and 100, which have been signed by the President. Novak, Secretary of the Senate.
House Bills 53, 159, 105, 252, 254, 262, 263, 43, and House Bill 100 will be referred to the Judiciary, Rules and Administration Committee for delivery to the Governor.
From the Senate, March 19th, 2013, Mr. Speaker, I transmit herewith Senate bills 1160, 1161, 1162, 1163, 1164, 1155, 1156, 1060, 1123, 1136, 1157, 1135, 1146, 1047 as amended, and 1134 as amended, which have passed the Senate. Novak, Secretary of the Senate.
Senate Bills 1060, 1161, 1162, 1163, 1164, 1155, 1156, 1160, 1123, 1136, 1157, 1135, 1146, 1047 as amended, and Senate Bill 1134 as amended will all be filed for the first reading.
From the Senate, March 19th, 2013, Mr. Speaker, I return herewith House Bills 199, 269, 270, 102, 244, 216, 76, 127, 162, 185, 218, 225, 110, and 113 as amended, which have passed the Senate. Novak, Secretary of the Senate.
House Bills 199, 269, 270, 102, 244, 216, 76, 127, 162, 185, 218, 225, 110, and House Bill 113 as amended will all be referred to the Judiciary Rules and Administration Committee for enrolling.
From the Senate, March 19, 2013, Mr. Speaker, I return herewith House Bill 73 as amended in the Senate and House Bill 217 as amended in the Senate, which have passed the Senate. Novak, Secretary of the Senate.
House Bills 73 as amended in the Senate and 217 as amended in the Senate will be held at the desk. Good gentleman from District 32.
Mr. Speaker, House Bill 73 was a bill that is a bill that deals with our information technology committee, and what we did is after it passed the House, we discovered that we really should be including some two members of the minority party, one from the House, one from the Senate, in order to participate in this committee. It was an amendment that was suggested by the sponsor, Mr. Speaker, and so this is a friendly amendment to the bill. And Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that the House do now concur in the Senate amendments to House Bill 73.
You've all heard the unanimous consent request. Is there an objection? Hearing none, the House does now concur in the Senate amendments to House Bill 73, and the bill will be referred to Judiciary Rules and Administration Committee for engrossing. Good lady from District 4.
Mr. Speaker, in regards to House Bill 217, this is in regards to loaned vehicles, and I do concur with the amendment given by the Senate, which changes the coverage just slightly, and it shall be limited to the lower of the reasonable cost of the repair or actual cost to replace the loaned vehicle. Since these are, in most cases, used vehicles, this just states that they don't have to replace it with a new car. And so, Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that the House do now concur in the Senate amendments to House Bill 217.
You've all heard the unanimous consent request for concurrence. Is there an objection? Hearing none, the House does now concur in the Senate amendments to House Bill 217, and the bill will be referred to the Judiciary Rules and Administration Committee for engrossing. The House will now advance to the fifth order of business, report of standing committees. The House is at the fifth order.
March 20th, 2013. Mr. Speaker, will your Committee on Judiciary Rules and Administration report that we have printed House Concurrent Resolution 30, House Concurrent Resolution 31, and House Bills 316, 317, 318, and 319. Will's Chairman.
House Concurrent Resolution 30, House Bills 318 and 319 will be filed for second reading. House Concurrent Resolution number 31 will be referred to the Resources and Conservation Committee. House Bills 316 and 317 will be referred to the Education Committee.
March 20th, 2013. Mr. Speaker, will your Committee on Judiciary Rules and Administration report that we have enrolled House Bills 41, 170, 214, 224, and 220. Will's Chairman.
House Bills 41, 170, 214, 224, and 220 will be signed by the Speaker and referred to the Senate for the signature of the President.
March 20th, 2013. Mr. Speaker, will your Committee on Judiciary Rules and Administration report that we have transmitted, enrolled House Bills 26, 44, 46, 118, 117, 188, 211, 140, 107, 161, 181, 55, 251, 253, 255, and House Bill 177 as amended in the Senate to the Governor at 11 a.m. as of this date, March 19th, 2013. Will's Chairman. March 20th, 2013. Mr. Speaker, will your Committee on Judiciary Rules and Administration report that we have transmitted enrolled House Joint Memorial 1 to the Secretary of State at 11:01 a.m. as of this date, March 19th, 2013. March 19th, 2013. Mr. Speaker, will your Committee on State Affairs report that we have had under consideration House Concurrent Resolutions 21 and 22 and Senate Bill 1105 and Senate Concurrent Resolution 112 and recommend that they do pass. Lurcher, Chairman.
House Concurrent Resolutions number 21 and 22, as well as Senate Bill 1105 and Senate Concurrent Resolution 112 will be filed for second reading.
March 19th, 2013. Mr. Speaker, will your Committee on Business report that we have had under consideration House Bill 273 and recommend that it do pass. Henderson, Chairman.
House Bill 273 will be filed for second reading.
March 19th, 2013. Mr. Speaker, will your Committee on Judiciary Rules and Administration report that we have had under consideration Senate Bill 1018 as amended, Senate Bill 1059 as amended, and Senate Bills 1119 and 1122, and recommend that they do pass. Wills, Chairman.
Senate Bill 1018 as amended, Senate Bill 1059 as amended, as well as Senate Bills 1119 and 1122 will all be filed for second reading.
March 19th, 2013. Mr. Speaker, will your Committee on Commerce and Human Resources report that we have had under consideration Senate Bills 1045 as amended, 1068 as amended, 1106 as amended, and recommend that they do pass. Harkin, Chairman.
Senate Bills 1045 as amended, 1068 as amended, 1106 as amended will all be filed for second reading.
March 20th, 2013. Mr. Speaker, will your Committee on State Affairs report that we have had under consideration Senate Concurrent Resolutions 117, 118, and 119, and recommend that they do pass. Lurcher, Chairman.
Senate Concurrent Resolutions 117, 118, and 119 will be filed for second reading.
March 20th, 2013. Mr. Speaker, will your Committee on Education report that we have had under consideration House Bill 314 and recommend that it do pass. DeMordaunt, Chairman.
House Bill 314 will be filed for second reading. Without objection, the House will now advance to the eighth order of business. First introduction, first reading, and reference of bills and joint resolutions. The House is at the eighth order.
In the House of Representatives, House Bill number 323 by Appropriations Committee, an act relating to public schools, stating fund sources for the appropriation to the Public Schools Educational Support Program for fiscal year 2014, appropriating monies for the transfer of the Public School Income Fund for fiscal year 2014, appropriating monies to the Public Schools Educational Support Program and Division of Administrators for fiscal year 2014, appropriating monies to the Public Schools Educational Support Program, Division of Teachers for fiscal year 2014, appropriating monies to Public Schools Educational Support Program, Division of Operations for fiscal year 2014, appropriating monies to the Public Schools Educational Support Program, Division of Children's Programs for fiscal year 2014, appropriating monies to the Public Schools Educational Support Program, Division of Facilities for fiscal year 2014, providing the necessary funds for the bond levy equalization program and limiting the amount of revenue distributed to the general fund, appropriating monies to the Public Schools Educational Support Program, Division of Educational Services for the deaf and the blind for fiscal year 2014, amending Section 33-1004A Idaho Code to restore 2 years of experience on the multiplier table, amending Section 33-1004E Idaho Code to adjust the minimum instructional staff salary, providing guidance for the Idaho Digital Learning Academy, providing that $4,331,400 of tobacco, cigarette, and lottery income tax monies be used as discretionary funds, directing the use of $368,600 of tobacco, cigarette, and lottery income monies, directing the use of $10,500,000 for reading and math initiatives and remediation, directing the use of $4 million for limited English proficiency programs, directing the use of $1,703,500 for the development of administrative assessments and exams, directing the use of $2,500,000 for informational technology staffing costs, directing the use of $300,000 for professional development and training for teacher and administrator evaluations, directing the use of $100,000 for a Safe Schools Task Force and assessment tools, directing the use of $21 million for differential pay for excellence in achievement awards and professional development, directing the use of $3,400,000 for technology, directing the use of $3,755,000 for professional development and training regarding Idaho core standards, directing the use of $150,000 for technology professional development, directing that certain information be compiled by the State Department of Education on safe school environments, providing dedicated fund reapportionment for fiscal year 2014 2014 and granting the authority to transfer appropriations among 5 divisions of the Public Schools Educational Support Program.
Senate Bills 1060.
Wait,
We're still there.
I have a House bill.
Oh, go ahead.
No, we're finished with that one. It's just going to be printed.
House Bill 323 will be referred to Judiciary Rules and Administration for printing.
From the Senate, Senate Bill 1160 by Finance Committee, an act appropriating monies to State Liquor Division for fiscal year 2014, limiting the number of full-time equivalent positions and providing guidance for employee compensation. Senate Bill 1161 by Finance Committee, an act appropriating monies to the Department of Self-Governing Agencies for regulatory boards for the fiscal year 2014, limiting the number of full-time equivalent positions and providing guidance for employee compensation. Senate Bill number 1162 by Finance Committee, an act appropriating monies to the State Controller for fiscal year 2014, limiting the number of authorized full-time equivalent positions, providing for guidance for employee compensation, providing for the recovery of State Controller service costs to the general fund, and providing non-general fund reapportionment. Senate Bill 1163 by Finance Committee, an act appropriating monies to the Commission on Hispanic Affairs for fiscal year 2014, limiting the number of authorized full-time equivalent positions and providing guidance for employee compensation. Senate Bill number 1164 by Finance Committee, an act reducing the appropriation to the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation for fiscal year 2013, appropriating monies to the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation for fiscal year 2014, limiting the number of authorized full-time equivalent positions, providing guidance for employee compensation, and declaring an emergency. Senate Bill number 1155 by State Affairs Committee, an act relating to water districts, amending Section 42-605 Idaho Code to clarify compensation provisions relating to water masters and assistants. Senate Bill number 1156 by State Affairs Committee, relating to irrigation districts, providing legislative intent, amending Chapter 13, Title 43 Idaho Code by the addition of a new Section 43, 1314, 1315, 1316, 1317, 1318, 1319, 1321, to provide conditions under which orders shall be issued, to provide that certain boundaries shall not be modified, and the addition of a new Section 43-1322 to provide for orders dividing newly partitioned irrigation districts into divisions, to provide certain requirements, to provide for the election of directors, to provide that certain information relating to divisions be included in the petition. Amending Chapter 13, Title 43 Idaho Code by the addition of a new Section 43-1323, 1324, and amending Chapter 13, Title 43 Idaho Code by the addition of a new Section 43-1325 to provide for a joint board of control, providing severability and declaring an emergency. Senate Bill number 1060 by Judiciary and Rules Committee, an act relating to prostitution, amending Section 56, Title 18 Idaho Code by the addition of new Section 185610 to establish a felony for utilizing a person under 18 years of age for prostitution and to provide penalties, amending Section 56, Title 18 Idaho Code by the addition of a new Section 185612 to provide for property subject to criminal forfeiture, and amending Section 188304 Idaho Code to provide for a code reference. Senate Bill number 1123 by Judiciary and Rules Committee, an act relating to prostitution, amending Chapter 56, Title 18 Idaho Code by the addition of a new Section 185618 and 5619 to provide that an inventory of seized property shall be made, amending Chapter 56, Title 18 by the addition of a new Section 185620 to provide that a forfeiture request shall be filed and to provide rebuttable presumption, amending Chapter 56, Title 18 Idaho Code by the addition of a new Section 185621, 5622, 5623, 5624 to provide for the disposition of real property and to establish rights of a third party, amending Chapter 56, Title 18 by the addition of a new Section 5625 and 26, 27, 28 to provide for the jurisdiction of courts and disposition of procedures, amending Chapter 56, Title 18 Idaho Code by the addition of new Sections 5629, 5630, and 5631 to provide that this chapter shall be construed to be effective its remedial purposes. Senate Bill number 1136 by Judiciary and Rules Committee, an act relating to uniform controlled substances, amending Section 372705 to revise a listing of synthetic drugs and declaring an emergency. Senate Bill number 1157 by State Affairs Committee, an act relating to irrigation districts, amending Section 43-119 Idaho Code to provide that certain limited liability companies shall have the same rights and privileges in the conduct of irrigation district business as do natural persons, to revise provisions relating to voting and otherwise acting in regard to irrigation district business by corporations, limited liability companies, partnerships, and trusts, to require certain entities to furnish irrigation districts with written designations of those authorized to vote or otherwise act for the entity under specified conditions, to revise provisions relating to the authority of spouses, and to revise provisions relating to certain restrictions on voting. Senate Bill 1135 by Judiciary and Rules Committee, an act relating to grounds for medical discipline by the State Board of Medicine, amending Section 54-1814 to provide additional grounds for medical discipline by the State Board of Medicine over licensees or registrants under its jurisdiction. Senate Bill 1146 by State Affairs Committee, an act relating to education, amending Section 33-522 Idaho Code to revise provisions relating to certain conditions concerning the declaration of financial emergency. Senate Bill 1047 as amended by Local Government and Taxation Committee, an act relating to the garnishment for payment of state taxes, amending Chapter 30, Title 63 by the addition of new Section 63-3060A to provide that execution of individual earnings may be continuous and to provide a minimum percentage that may be collected for any certain period for income, and amending Section 63-3068 to allow a longer period for collection of state taxes and to make a technical correction. Senate Bill number 1134, as amended by State Affairs Committee, relating to aeronautics, to define a term, to establish provisions relating to restrictions on the use of unmanned aircraft systems, to provide exceptions, to provide for civil cause of action, to provide for certain damages, and to provide that an owner of certain facilities shall not be prohibited from using an unmanned aircraft system to inspect such facilities.
Senate Bills 1060, 1161, 1162, 1163, and 1164 will be filed for second reading. Senate Bill 1155, 1156, and 1157 will be referred to Resources and Conservation. Senate Bills 1160, 1123, and 1136 will be referred to Judiciary Rules and Administration. Senate Bill 1135 will be referred to Health and Welfare. Senate Bill 1146 will be referred to Education. Senate Bill 1047, as amended, will be referred to the Revenue Tax Committee. And Senate Bill 1134, as amended, will be referred to the State Affairs Committee. Good gentleman from District 14.
Mr. Speaker, before former Representative Mark Snodgrass leaves with his class, we would like to welcome the Eagle High School government class here. And there's one particular person we got to give a hard time to, and that's Travis Joe Palmer. Sorry about your name, Travis. You know, I had to throw that in there. When you get older, you can have that Joe thing removed. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Welcome to the gallery. Good lady from District 33.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
For a privilege,
A point of personal privilege,
lady
please.
has the floor.
Thank you.
Just because the majority leader didn't ask for it doesn't mean that you can't.
Yeah, I don't rank quite yet.
Lady has the floor.
Thank you. Representatives from District 30 and District 33 would like to welcome the students from Holy Rosary. It is a private school in our area. They have left the gallery. I tried to stand up before they left. But if you see them in the hallways, please welcome them today. We would appreciate it.
Thank you. Gentleman from 15.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like an opportunity to point of personal privilege.
Gentleman has the floor.
Everybody up on the balcony, we have the 6th grade class from the Ambrose schools visiting us today. Thank you.
Welcome to the gallery. Without objection, the House will advance to the 10th order of business, second reading of bills and joint resolutions. The House is at the 10th order.
In the House of Representatives, House Bill 311 by Appropriations Committee regarding Appropriations, Department of Administration. House Bill 312 by Appropriations Committee regarding Appropriations, Bond Payment Program. House Bill 313 by Appropriations Committee regarding Appropriations, Permanent Building Fund. House Concurrent Resolution 26 by State Affairs Committee regarding Public Defense Reform Study. Senate Bill 1108 by State Affairs Committee regarding initiative and referendum elections. House Bill 266 by State Affairs Committee regarding veterinary medicine. House Bill 278 by State Affairs Committee regarding fish and game. House Bill 150 by Judiciary Rules and Administration Committee regarding county finances, claims against county. Senate Bill 1117 by State Affairs Committee regarding overweight or oversized load permits. Senate Bill 1021 by Health and Welfare Committee regarding nurses. House Bill 295 by Education Committee regarding educational support system. Senate Bill 1072 as amended in the House by Health and Welfare Committee regarding organ donation contribution fund. Senate Bill 1116 as amended in the House by Judiciary and Rules Committee regarding organ donations. House Bill 322 by Ways and Means Committee regarding overweight or oversized loads.
House Bills 311, 312, 313, House Concurrent Resolution 26, Senate Bill 1108, House Bill 266, 278, 150, Senate Bills 1117 and 1021, House Bill 295, Senate Bills 1072 as amended in the House, and Senate Bill 1116 as amended in the House, plus House Bill 322 will all be filed for the third reading. Without objection, the House will now advance to the 12th order of business, consideration of general orders. The House is at the 12th order. Gentleman from 14.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the House do now resolve itself to the Committee of the Whole for the consideration of general orders.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
You've all heard the motion to resolve into the Committee of the Whole. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The motion carries, and the House will stand at ease. Would the gentleman from District 13 please come forward to chair the committee?
Committee of the Whole will be in order. The committee will have under consideration House Bill 265 as amended. Are there amendments to the bill?
Yes, the motion to amend Section 1 of House Bill 265 as amended has been made by Representative Moyle and seconded by Representative Crane.
If there are no objections, the amendments to Section 1 of the bill will be considered read, and the chair recognizes the good gentleman from District 14 to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, members of the House, you've seen this bill before. After we amended the bill earlier, some of our engineers had some concerns with the wording, so we got everybody together and came up with a new amendment, and everybody's agreed that this is what they want and they're okay with it. This amendment makes it clear that the project must be less than $10,000, it must be performed by employees of a public entity, and that it must be done in accordance with engineering standards, and only if a professional engineer has determined that the work does not have a material risk to the public. They're good amendments and supported by all the parties, and I hope you can support it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any further debate in favor of the amendment? Any debate in opposition? Debate is closed. The question is, shall the amendment to Section 1 be adopted? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. The amendment to Section 1 is adopted. Are there further amendments?
No further section to the amendment.
Is there correction to title?
Yes, the motion for correction to title has been made by Representative Moyle and seconded by Representative Crane.
If there are no objections, the correction to title to House Bill 265 as amended will be considered read. You all have heard the motion for correction to title. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried and the correction to title is adopted. Good gentleman from 14.
Mr. Chairman, I move that when the committee rise, it report that it has had in consideration House Bill 265 as amended and report it back with amendments and without recommendation.
Mr. Chairman, I second the motion.
You all have heard the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion is carried and it will be done. The committee will now have under consideration Senate Bill 1080. Are there amendments to the bill?
Yes, the motion to amend Section 2 of Senate Bill 1080 has been made by Representative Batt and seconded by Representative Palmer.
If there are no objections, the amendment to Section 2 of the bill will be considered read. The chair recognizes the good lady from District 11 to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, This amendment addresses some concerns that was brought by a committee member and then also the Senate bill sponsor as well. What this will do is it'll eliminate the requirement that was proposed for this bill for the Attorney General's office to perform further investigation or prosecution upon findings of a preliminary investigation on county elected officials.
Any further debate in favor of the amendment? Any debate in opposition to the amendment? If not, the debate is closed. The question is, shall the amendment to Section 2 of the bill be adopted? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. The amendment to Section 2 will be adopted. Are there further amendments to the section?
No further sections to the amendment.
Is there correction to title?
No correction to title.
Good gentleman from 14.
Mr. Chairman, I move that when the committee rise, it report that it has had under consideration Senate Bill 1080 and report it back with amendments and without recommendation.
Mr. Chairman, I second the motion.
You all have heard the motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried.
Mr. Chairman.
Good gentleman from 14.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the committee rise report.
Mr. Chairman, I second the motion.
You all have heard the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. The committee of the whole will be dissolved.
The House will be in order. Gentleman from 13.
Mr. Speaker, we, your Committee of the Whole House, report that we have had under consideration House Bill 265 as amended and Senate Bill 1080 and report them back without recommendation as amended. Mr. Speaker, I move the report be adopted.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
You've all heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The motion carries and the report is adopted. House Bills 265 as amended will be referred to the Judiciary Rules and Administration Committee for engrossing. Senate Bill 1080 will be filed for first reading. The amendments will be referred to the Judiciary Rules and Administration Committee for printing. Without objection, the House will return to the 11th order of business, third reading of bills and joint resolutions. The House is at the 11th order. The House will have under consideration House Bill 286. Gentleman from 22.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask for unanimous consent to dispense with further reading of House Bill 286.
You've all heard the unanimous consent request. Is there an objection? Hearing none, the good gentleman from District 22 is recognized to open the debate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good ladies and gentlemen. House Bill 286 is a bill that provides a credit on state income taxes to individuals and corporations that make donations to scholarship granting organizations that provide scholarship to qualified K-12 students attending approved schools. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to read over some of the quick points of this bill. This bill has a total program cap of $10 million per year. In future years, the cap will be adjusted upward in accordance with increases in consumer price index. Should we reach that cap, should the $10 million and be reached, then we'll increase the cap by the CPI. Also, it has eligible students must have attended a public school in the preceding semester, be entering kindergarten or first grade, or be starting school in Idaho for the first time. Also, eligible students must have a total household income no greater than 150% of the free reduced lunch program from the federal government. This translates into a family of four would be $63,965. A household of three would be $52,976, and a household of two would be $41,987. Another feature in this, approximately 59% of Idaho households have income less than $64,000. It is estimated that approximately 171,000 public school students and 900 private school students would be eligible for scholarships under the program. It is estimated that the bill will have a positive fiscal impact on the state and local budgets in Idaho. The state savings is about $3.3 million, and this is based on what the scholarship granting amount would be as compared to the average daily attendance from the state funding. Individual donors will receive a dollar-for-dollar credit on donations to scholarship granting organizations up to the total amount of their state tax liability. They will not receive additional credit beyond their liability. In other words, they cannot give more and receive credit and carry that forward against future taxes that are owed. Corporations will be allowed to donate 50% of what their tax liability is and it's on any given year. Individual and corporate donors may carry forward the tax credit for 3 years. In other words, you can carry it onto your books for 3 years. Maximum scholarship value under this program is the lesser of the following: the cost of tuition and fees charged by the private school of choice, or the amount the per-student tuition support provided to the school district in which the eligible student resides. In other words, the amount that is awarded in scholarship can never exceed what the state is paying for the average daily attendance for that student in the school district that they are in. It can never be higher than that, irregardless of what the tuition may be in for that school. Eligible schools must be accredited or in the process of becoming accredited by the State Board of Education or a national or regional accrediting agency, and must administer either the state assessment test or a nationally norm-referenced assessment test. In other words, there's some guidelines that we have worked out with the Department of Education as to which schools would actually qualify. This is to prevent somebody from just calling something a school and trying to get some tax credit dollars to it. They have to be accredited or in the process of being accredited. And the scholarship granting organizations must spend 90% of the revenue for the tax credits for student scholarships. However, they can carry over 25% into the next year. And the reason for that being is that tax years end in January, most of them end in December, and school years start in September. And so knowing what you have and have something left over to go into the next year, we've allowed a 25% carryover. And also, the scholarship granting organizations have to serve more than one school. It can't be an individual school that sets up their own little scholarship granting organization that just goes to the one school. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the bill before you. I'm sure some people have some questions. I would just as soon everybody give me a green light and we can sit down and go home quicker.
Is there further debate? Gentleman from 6.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Not to debate, but I do have some questions.
Would the gentleman from District 22 yield to a question or two? He's just got that look.
Just a question or two, Mr. Speaker. I'll yield.
Thank you,
Mr. The gentleman yields.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good gentlemen. You talk about savings, and could you describe for me how those savings calculations are derived?
Gentleman from 22.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good gentleman from number 6. The average daily attendance number that the state is in support of the schools is about $4,400 per student. The average scholarship amount on the programs that are in other states is right around $2,000 per student. So the difference between that and what the average state cost on a per student is where the savings is. The state pays the schools, the public schools, an average daily attendance. If that is reduced by 1 and the scholarship is only $2,000, it saves the state approximately another $2,000 in savings.
Gentleman from 6.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good gentlemen. If I may ask another.
Gentleman yields.
Gentleman yields.
Gentleman yields.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good gentlemen. So this is just talking about the reduction in average daily attendance money that would then be going, would not be going to the local school districts. But the fiscal note also has local savings projected. Could you describe that for me, please?
Gentleman from 22.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good gentleman from 6. Yes, there is another figure in there that says the local savings of approximately $2,500. That is probably not as large of an amount of savings to the local districts because a lot of that is fixed cost and levy cost. Whether it actually saves those school districts that money is not not a for sure thing, I would say, but because their income is not based on their average daily attendance, where the state money is based on average daily attendance.
Gentleman from 6.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, to debate against the bill.
Gentleman has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have a great deal of difficulty understanding how the bill actually produces any savings. The tax reduction is a direct reduction of general fund money. The average daily attendance is figured on a average rather than an actual payment. We have no idea where these individuals will be living or where those children, which public schools they would have been attending. And then probably the biggest issue is the assumption that by taking a child out of a public school district that you've reduced the need for that amount of money. And so if you make a class go from 34 to 30, I don't see how you've actually reduced your staff costs at all, and you certainly haven't reduced your fixed costs. And so my belief is that this will actually do nothing except increase the difficulty that our public schools have making their budgets, will increase the requirement that our local public schools have to go for operational levies on the taxpayers. So while giving a tax credit to those who donate, we'll be increasing the property taxes for the support of local public schools on everybody's property tax. And I don't think that's appropriate. And so I'll be voting no. Thank you.
Is there further debate? Gentleman from 17.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and the body, and thank the good gentleman for 22 for his explanation of the bill. One of the first things that comes to mind is having had children in public schools over a 15-year period, is that if we're going to give tax credits, why aren't the public school parents getting a tax credit? For example, if we wanted to give additional money to support teacher salaries at our elementary school, why wouldn't why shouldn't a bill like this include our right to support our public schools and get some kind of tax break? And it does not. I would also note that we are getting nearly $40 million in total tax breaks. We had the $10 million jobs credit, $20 million for the personal property tax. We had the cloud tax clarification bill, which was $700,000. Some thought it was more. And now this, the jobs tax credit was $7 to $10 million, and now this bill of up to $10 million. This impacts our ability to adequately fund public education in the general budget. And for those reasons, I would urge a red light.
Is there further debate? Gentleman from 15.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to debate in favor of this bill.
Gentleman has the floor.
When we were in committee, the representing attorney for the IEA was talking, and I asked him a question specifically, and that was, when he was talking about the costs don't go down. You still have to have the light on. You still have to have the teacher in the room. The bus keeps running. And I asked him about that. I said, I can't get these words out of my mind that the bus has to keep running. I said, as a civil servant, I have my daughters in a private school. And should I remove them from the private school and put them in the public school to help keep the bus running? And he said, we are not against choice. And that's it right there. He said, we are not against choice. And this is about choice. And everybody talks about choice. But this is a bill that actually creates choice. We have to allow the free markets in the private sector create choice, and we need to get the roadblocks off of them. This gives families who don't have the means that some of us do to send our children to private school to be able to actually accomplish that, because people are donating money because they care about our future generations and wanting to give their parents choice where they might not have the choice because of economic hardships or the inability to be able to afford it. This levels the playing field, and it's a great step in the right direction. And again, the representative for the IEA said, we are not against choice. We are for choice. Those are his words, and I want to see them get held to them. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, my colleagues.
So further debate. Gentleman from 19.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the body.
Welcome back, the gentleman.
Thank you very much. Quickly, to debate against the bill, I'd like to read from the Idaho Constitution to start with. Article 9, Section 5. Sectarian appropriations prohibited. Neither the legislature nor any county, city, town, township, city, or school district, other public corporation shall ever make any appropriation or pay from any public fund or monies whatsoever anything in aid of any church or sectarian religious society for any sectarian or religious purpose, or to help support or sustain any school, academy, seminary, college, university, or other literary or scientific institution controlled by any church, sectarian, or religious denomination whatsoever. Now, I went to Catholic high school, and the nuns at the Catholic high school that I went to taught me about freedom. And they talked about freedom from two different perspectives: individual freedoms and the freedom of the group, or the freedom of the collective. My parents sent me to Catholic school, like I've said many times before, because I was a difficult child to manage. But I benefited from it dramatically. But the entire time they sent me to that Catholic school, they continued to pay taxes to the public school district, and they never asked for a tax break. They believed that choice is about collective freedom, not individual freedom to avoid paying taxes. 0.9% of Idaho students will be eligible for nearly $10 million of tax credits. And lest I point out that there are 30 counties in Idaho with private schools. And there are 44 counties in Idaho that do not have private schools. So to get this clear, we're going to give a tax credit to 0.9% of these students, or people that donate to help these 0.9% go to private schools. And yet, a third of our counties don't even have private schools. It doesn't add up to me. The argument is that this works in other states, and I get that. I get the value behind that. The problem is Idaho is unlike most other states. The county that I grew up in has 600,000 people in it. Idaho is the size of Colorado and has 1.5 million people. When we do stuff like this, we do not do anything for the collective freedom of our citizens. What we do is we benefit very specific regional areas in Idaho, areas that are already financially well off, financially benefiting, and the areas that are struggling do not see the rewards of tax incentives like this. Now, that isn't to say that the nuns that slammed me around for not tucking in my shirt when I was in high school didn't do a great job, because look at me. Right?
Is there objection? Please
Private
continue with your
schools.
debate and kind of not start back towards the substance of the bill.
The substance of the bill is this: $10 million in tax credits for $5 million in questionable benefits for only 30 counties in the entire state. Private schools do serve a purpose. Private schools are about choice, but private schools should not benefit for taxpayer money, and our Constitution demonstrates that. Thank you.
Thank you, good gentleman. Gentleman from 2.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would like to address the constitutional issue. I have with me the Attorney General's opinion on this particular bill, and not to read from the bill, but to point out that the legislation can be defended as within the context of its face as not being a state funded bill. The draft legislation does not involve a transfer of state funds. And this is what distinguishes this bill from a voucher system, which would be a transfer of state funds. So the Attorney General has, in its opinion letter, stated that it would vigorously defend this bill if it became law under the provision that it is not a state transfer of funds and therefore not in violation of the Constitution. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Is there further debate? Good lady from District 18.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think the issue is not whether private schools are good for children in the state, because they are, but the issue is that this is policy that siphons money away from public and charter schools to be used for private schools. Public schools and public charter schools have been and will be Idaho's destiny. And I believe it's the duty and the responsibility of all the citizens of the state to help educate the children. And we don't give tax credits to adults who have no children, nor should we be giving tuition tax credits to those who have chosen an alternative to public education. It is their right and their choice, but the state should not subsidize that choice. We do not have enough money for public schools and public charter schools right now, and this would divert potential tax dollars to private schools. I think this is bad policy. I hope you'll vote no on this bill. Thank you.
Is there further debate? Lady from District 11.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was just wondering if the good gentleman from 22 would yield to a question, please.
Will the gentleman from District 22 yield to a question?
Gentleman yields.
Gentleman yields.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, good gentleman. My question is, if I'm understanding this correctly, there is a cap of a $10 million credit. But it also says that a corporation could take up to half their tax liability. So my question is, if we have a large corporation in Idaho who has a $20 million tax liability to the state, in theory it seems to me that they could actually take this entire $10 million credit if they were the first ones to apply for it. Could you address that, please?
Gentleman from 22.
Good lady from 11, that is correct. Anybody, the first $10 million, it's on a first-come, first-served basis. And so in order to apply and to be eligible for that donation, they have to notify the scholarship granting organization that they want to give this donation. Then that scholarship granting organization has to check with the tax commission to make sure that there's room under the $10 million cap.
So, good lady from 11.
And follow up then, Mr. Speaker.
Would the gentleman yield further?
Gentleman yields.
Gentleman yields.
And I thank you, good gentleman. I think I understand that. And so if one corporation takes it, then all the other parents don't get the credit.
Gentleman from 22.
Thank you, good lady from 11. No, the parents don't get the credit, but the parents are all eligible for the scholarship because this corporation will not be getting any scholarship funds. The funds are then available for any parent that wants to send their child to a private school. They don't have the ability to donate to the scholarship granting organization.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, good gentleman.
Is there further debate? The lady from 26.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm going to just bring out something that hasn't been addressed to this point. And we've just been talking about the scholarship granting organization, talking about it being singular. When you're looking at the definitions, it says any organization that complies with the requirements of the program and provides educational scholarship. And so it looks to me this is wide open. You can have any number of educational organizations, not just one, each one with a $10 million liability. Okay, if I'm incorrect, then let me know. But it does say in there any organization that qualifies and meets the qualifications. So perhaps that can be, you can address that if this is incorrect.
Is there further debate? The gentleman from District 15.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the good gentleman from 22 yield to a question?
Will the gentleman yield?
Gentleman yields.
The gentleman yields.
Just one question, no.
I'll make it a long one. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good gentleman. Going back to the notification process, which appears on the top of page 3 at subsection 8, I just want to follow through and make sure I understand how that works. If somebody wants to give a donation to a scholarship organization, they contact the organization. The organization then contacts the State Tax Commission. The State Tax Commission then checks to see if there's still money left. The Tax Commission then, within 14 days, has to advise the scholarship organization that there's still money left, and then the scholarship organization has 30 days to collect the donation. Is that correct?
Gentleman from 22.
Good gentleman, that is correct.
Gentleman from 15.
And Mr. Speaker, good gentleman. So that would apply whether or not the
gentleman
donation...
yields.
Oh, excuse me.
The gentleman yields.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, good gentleman. So that would apply whether or not the donation is $10 or $1,000 or $10,000. Every time anyone wants to give a donation to get this credit, you have to go through that process. Is that correct?
Gentleman from 22.
Mr. Speaker and good gentlemen, that is correct. And that is to make sure that the donations are on a first-come, first-served basis and that they never do exceed the $10 million cap for all the scholarship granting organizations.
All right. Thank you.
Is there further debate? Lady from 5.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I would like to debate against the bill.
The lady has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and ladies and gentlemen. We all know that one charge that we have in the Constitution is to establish and maintain a general, uniform, and thorough system of public, free, common schools. That is the main job given to us by the Idaho Constitution. Those of us that were around in 2006 took part in a special legislative session in which property tax was given, and the agreement was to pick up that responsibility in the sales tax and thereby the general fund. And at that time, we did put it to a vote of the people just to weigh in on how they felt about what we had done, and the question put to the people was, should we reduce property taxes by about $260 million and protect funding for public schools by keeping the sales tax at 6%? So that was the deal that we made with the people at that time, and they took it. And since, as the gentleman from 6 mentioned a while ago, Last year, we made ongoing cuts to the general fund by over $35 million. We just voted yesterday to make cuts to the general fund by $20 million. Today, we're talking about $20 million. And every time we do that, I think that we threaten our ability to keep this promise to keep the public schools whole. And we have seen across the state people having to, in turn, raise their property tax. And I think that this legislation does that once again. And for that, as well as many other reasons that have been mentioned, I think we should vote no on this bill.
Is there further debate? The gentleman from District 24.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With respect to this bill, a couple of points have not been made. The essence of this is it constitutional under the Establishment Clause that prohibits a connection between religious institutions and government under the First Amendment? Okay? And the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, in examining a program like this in the state of Arizona, concluded that it was, in fact, constitutional because there is no direct transfer of funds from the state. It is a credit offered to individuals who take advantage of it, but there is no direct transfer of funds. Now, some may say, well, what about the Idaho Constitution? And that provision has been referenced here in our debate. And that provision goes back to our original constitutional language and was directed at a specific religion. And if you know the history of the Idaho constitutional debates, you're familiar with why that provision was particularly included. So I would tend to rely here on the federal court rulings that govern our district. This is the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, which handles the western states. Their conclusion is that a program of this time does pass constitutional muster, and I would urge your yes vote. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Is there further debate? Good. Gentleman from District 15.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To debate against the bill.
Gentleman has the floor.
Mr. Speaker and ladies and gentlemen of the body, I appreciate the intent behind this bill and the concern that we have about choice in education. I think the provisions of this bill in terms of the way the donation is made is cumbersome. The good lady from 11 pointed out one flaw, and that is that one donor can come in and use up the whole credit. Another is that every time you want to make a donation, you have to go through this cumbersome process. It's not like we do with the youth ranch or whatever we want to donate to, where we get a credit. We make that credit, we claim it on our tax return. Here, the tax commission has to be contacted each time. There's a window for them to get the information back before the donation can be collected. So what about the fact that people in general may want to make a $50 or $100 donation? This is going to put an incredible burden on our tax commission. It's going to be confusing. What happens if somebody else calls up before the 30 days runs and they want to make a donation? It's just very confusing and cumbersome in terms of process. And so while I understand the idea, I just don't think that this is a very workable solution.
Is there further debate? Good lady from District 8.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And in support of the bill.
Lady has the floor.
Thank you. And also in response to one debate comment referencing collective freedom and individual freedom. There is no collective freedom without first individual freedom. If nothing else, this bill is about individual freedom. Thank you.
Is there further debate? Good lady from District 30.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the gentleman from 22 yield to a question?
Will the gentleman from District 22 yield to a question?
The gentleman yields.
The gentleman yields.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good gentleman. Within the bill itself, on lines 32 through 34 on page 3, it talks about these scholarships cannot be limited to students of only one school. I'm wondering if you can help me understand functionally how that happens within the granting organization.
Gentleman from 22.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good lady from 30. That's in the rules of the scholarship granting organization. They also will notify the Department of Education who they're giving scholarships to and which schools those students are attending. So the Department of Education will have some oversight as to make sure that they are not just going to one, that they cannot go to just one school.
Thank you.
Good lady from 30. Is there further debate? Good lady from District 35.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To debate in favor of the bill.
Lady has the floor.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, there are some things that bother me in the debate on this, and that is a reverse discrimination. It seems to me that if we really believe in choice and parents have choice, there are several things that they have to do. First off, they have to meet the income criteria of low income and less than 150% of poverty. Then they have a choice of if someone is magnanimous enough to be able to donate to help them send that child to a private school, then that choice is available, and it's education no matter how you look at it. It's education. That's what's of great interest to this legislature, is educating our children. And the fact that there are places where some children do better than in other places. And I know from cases that I'm aware of that it's very helpful for some students to be able to go to other than a public school. And I know wherever I speak, I have a daughter who teaches school. She has 18 students in her classroom, and she has 2 students who are I guess, as the representative said, difficult children. And she spends a great deal of her time in that classroom trying to make sure those students are getting the same good education that the other students in her classroom are getting. She tries very hard, and it is, I think most teachers that you will talk to have probably, some of this they deal with students in that classroom, and feel sometimes as if they spend an inordinate amount of time there. Well, the parents of these students have come and talked to this daughter that's the teacher, and very concerned about their children, and have expressed to her if they had an opportunity, they would have put those children in a school where there were less students and other students like them, that there's a specialty teacher that can handle that. And to that seemed to me to be a thing that would be wonderful if they had that choice. They financially can't afford to do that. So it seems to me this is a win-win all the way around for public school teachers, for students that have difficulties, for the regular public school students in that classroom, for the choice that a parent might have that's very concerned about a child. I think this is a pretty remarkable thing that we have an organization that now can work as a pass-through to that school. The parent doesn't get to keep the money that is scholarship available for them. It goes to the school. And so it seems to me that this is a win-win all the way around, and I do hope that you will support the bill.
Is there further debate? Good lady from District 31.
Mr. Speaker, to debate against the bill, please.
Lady has the floor.
A lot of these programs are implemented in other states. A lot of the states that have these and these expanded choice programs have very dilapidated schools that are very much in need of improvement. And those students need that ability to move to a different area. we've already implemented in our state choice, and that is through charter schools. And I think that at this point, that's where Idaho needs to go. I don't believe that it needs to go with this sort of a program in the state at this time. Thank you.
Is there further debate? Gentleman from 13.
Mr. Speaker, potentially just to declare a Rule of 38 conflict of interest. The way I understand the way this bill would work is it would be children that would be entering the school next year. My son will be entering school next year, and so potentially he could be eligible for one of these if this bill should pass. So I just want to declare potential conflict of interest.
Good gentleman, that's a pretty big class of kids, and I don't know that there would be a pecuniary interest that would accrue to you should this bill pass, but we appreciate your
As the Attorney General, Mr. Speaker, as the Attorney General said, nobody ever got in trouble for over-reporting, so just trying to be careful.
Duly noted. Is there further debate? Hearing none, would the gentleman from District 22 care to close the debate?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and ladies and gentlemen. Just on a few closing comments. We say we have charter schools, but we have about 9,000 kids waiting to get in them. So we have parents that would like to make a choice, and choices are not always available to them. Another point that was brought up is that it's strictly sectarian schools. This is for any private school. It's not just a religious school. Any private school is available. These scholarships are available to. Another point that was brought up is somebody gives $10 million, nobody else can give. Well, it's not a tax write-off, it's a tax credit. That means that if you owe $1,000 to the state, you either pay the state or you pay the scholarship granting organization. You don't gain anything on your tax return by giving to the scholarship granting outside of credit towards the taxes you owe. It's a tax credit that goes against that. And also, just to point out that it's 150% of the federal or the free reduced lunch program. This is targeted to the people that are in need of help for the choices that would be made available for them. And so, Mr. Speaker and good ladies and gentlemen, I ask for your green light on this bill.
Thank you, good gentleman. The debate is closed. The question is, shall House Bill 286 pass the House? The clerk will unlock the machine and the members will cast their votes. Has every member voted? Representative Wood, 35. Does any member wish to change his vote? The clerk will lock the machine and record the roll.
Mr. Speaker, I have pairs at the desk.
Please read them.
Representative Burgoyne votes nay. Representative Boyle votes aye.
Thank you. The roll call shows 35 aye, 33 nay, 2 absent, excused. House Bill 286 has passed the House. Is there a correction to title? Hearing none, House Bill 286 will be transmitted to the Senate. The House will now have under consideration House Bill 274. Good gentleman from 15.
Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman from 14.
I think the gentleman from 15 is sleeping, so what I would do, Mr. Speaker, after that debate, I think maybe we ought to go to lunch. So I'd move that the House
sounds like a great idea.
Recess until the hour of 1:30. We'll come back at 1:30 and work for a couple hours. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Before placing the question to the body, are there announcements? Gentleman from 1.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There will be a Ways and Means meeting immediately following the recess here in the JFAC room.
Are there other announcements before placing the unseconded motion?
Mr. Speaker, my apologies. I was waylaid by the good gentleman from 1. Mesmerized by his announcement. Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
Okay. The clerk may read some announcements.
Okay. Following are the Standing Committee meeting announcements for this afternoon. Agricultural Affairs Committee will not meet. Environment, Energy, and Technology Committee will meet upon adjournment. East Wing, Room 41, Raybold Chairman. Local Government Committee will meet this afternoon upon adjournment. East Wing, Room 5, Barrett Chairman. Transportation and Defense Committee will meet this afternoon upon adjournment. East Wing, Room 40, Palmer Chairman. House Ways and Means Committee will meet upon adjournment.
You've all heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The motion carries, and the House stands at recess until the hour of 1:30 p.m.
Idaho in Session is sponsored by the Idaho State Broadcasters Association, the J.A. and Catherine Albertson Foundation, Union Pacific Foundation, Idaho Association of Counties, Idaho Cable Telecommunications Association, Association of Idaho Cities, and your contributions to the Idaho Public Television Endowment.